All right, everybody, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Welcome to our first Takeoff Series webinar of 2026. It's been an amazing start to our year, and I hope that you guys have had the same success as well. Our webinar today is gonna focus upon a lot of the shifts in the industry. But first off, I want to say thank you so much to everybody on the webinar here. 2025 was a record year for Regal Wings in terms of revenue, requests, and so on and so forth. Our requests were up 100% from 2024 to 2025. So thanks to you guys and our ongoing support of our travel trade partners, our requests actually doubled going into 2025, which is an amazing number. And then the revenue that we've seen from there has been incredible. We grew by 25% and from 24 to 25. We also grew from 23 to 24, about 26%. So we've seen about a 57% increase overall from 2023 to 2025. And that has to do entirely with our travel trade partners as we work exclusively through travel advisors. We want to say thank you so much for your support. So I know that some of you who may be new to us, some of you who have just started working with us, the requests and response times may have been a little longer in January, but we want to make sure that we're getting everything to you as soon as we can. We are in the process of almost doubling our reservation team, and we do have some fun things coming down the line that we'll talk about more throughout the webinar. But today we're going to unpack airline cabin upgrades and infrastructure changes from late 2025, what's arriving this year in 2026, and how we turn those changes into smarter selling and better client outcomes. Airfare no longer is just a line item. It's airlines that are investing heavily in premium cabins, onboard product, international routes, and advisors who have the understanding of these changes are the best position to turn air not into both a revenue driver, but a differentiator. And we really are a great way to start growing your business that way. We do want to start with a quick brand video showing and showcasing our expertise in air concierge.
Introducing Regal Wings, your trusted partner for international premium air travel. We specialize in business, first class, and premium economy, delivering seamless white glove service, competitive commissions, and complete confidence in every booking. Our expert travel advisors focus exclusively on premium international airfare. With over 10 years of experience, they bring refined expertise, precision, and responsiveness, so you and your clients are always in the best hands. Flight delayed at 3 a.m.? We're there. What once felt like a hassle is now a valuable service, freeing you from the headaches while unlocking extra revenue and keeping your clients at the center of every trip. Because at Regal Wings, we believe the journey starts at the airport. Regal Wings, premium air made effortless.
So as the video showed, it kind of shows our brand principles. So Regal Wings specializes in premium economy, business and first class air, originating in the US and Canada, flying to a foreign continent. But before we kind of get into our major brand pitch, I kind of wanted to talk about the big shift in airline cabins, the new expanded premium economy, not just being an option for you, but being kind of the go-to for your economical clients and things of that nature. We also will talk about how the domestic part of the equation and short haul expectations have changed, structural shifts in global rotations and new flight routes, and then why and how does that impact you as a travel advisor. So starting off, we're seeing a big shift in airline cabin and happening on board. From the second half of 2025 into 2026, airlines have clearly moved beyond recovery mode and into an intentional premium growth space. So that COVID lull and really kind of figuring out how airlines are going to bounce back. They're making record profits. We're seeing this across the business class, premium economy, and even some domestic cabins. One of the biggest developments is the next generation of long-haul business class flights. For example, United Airlines is introducing new Polaris business class suites on incoming Boeing 787-9 aircrafts. We're seeing A350-1000s with the furthest range in the history of aviation. And these are features, and these feature for more privacy, larger screens, upgraded dining, residual feel with an aircraft entering service late 25 and 26. Also at the very top end of travel, Air France continues expanding its redesigned La Première first class product. reinforcing that ultra luxe demand is very real, especially on transatlantic routings. La Premiere probably is the top of the line first class cabin. We're seeing some of those go away throughout the business with more focus on that business class product. But for those ultra luxe guests, we always like to bring up Air France. We like to bring up Qatar, Emirates with their Q suites, even Qantas as well, really kind of diving into that way. But the key takeaway here is premium cabins are no longer just about comfort. Airlines are using them as a core revenue strategy, and clients are increasingly aware of the product differences, especially by aircraft and routing. If you're looking at your United guest and you're seeing an older 767, your clients may be trying to flex over to potentially a Dreamliner or a 777 or an A350 on that route. So where the advisors have the real value is by selling the experience, the price, and also not just the price, excuse me, and also really knowing about what that cabin offers, what that plane offers. Sometimes when I personally fly, I really focus upon more newer aircrafts, 777Ws, A350s, and so on and so forth, knowing that there is a larger business class cabin. And I'll talk more about how I do my personal travels, trying to take advantage of Regal Wings services as well. But the other shift we're seeing is the acceleration in premium economy. Premium economy is no longer an experiment with airlines. There's a dedicated cabin. Airlines expanding seat counts, standardizing service, and pricing it very intentionally, particularly during peak seasons and during periods like Wave. You're going to be seeing promotional aspects with American, with Delta, so on and so forth, with routes going into new destinations that they're really trying to promote with these dedicated premium economy cabins. So for clients who really want more comfort but aren't ready to make that big jump to business class, premium economy really represents it's becoming more of a compelling upsell. Better seat pitch, upgraded meals, priority boarding. They're benefits really for clients who aren't dedicated travelers. I mean, obviously we have our power users who are their Delta Diamonds and global services with United. But for that once in a lifetime client who's really spending a lot of money in destination, with Regal Wings, they can actually fly over on premium economy, and then we can book them economy on the way back if they're looking to maximize their budget. But from an advisor standpoint, premium economy is often one of the easiest wins, higher revenue, better, happier clients, fewer pricing objections than business during peak seasons as well too. And at the same time, it is much more attainable than it has in the past as well. The premium economy cabins really have seen a huge focus upon the investment from airlines across the board as well too. And then kind of resetting expectations domestically and on short haul premium economy premium exceptions. There's a reason I'm talking about this. We'll talk about more about this down the line. But the premium shift isn't just limited to long haul flights. Even domestically, ironically, I'm going to bring up Southwest Airlines is moving towards an assigned seating cabin with premium seating to match other players in the industry. We don't foresee ourselves booking Southwest in the future, but it really shows the major shift in even the most standard airlines and really steadfast domestic partners. One of the biggest options as well for your guests is JetBlue and their expanded partnerships with their Mint class, which is arguably the best domestic and short haul premium cabin space. You then can connect to their partners going internationally, going from, let's say, LAX to JFK. I know they have great Mint options there as well. Then going on to Europe that way too, rather than kind of piecing them together. They've really taken a big step up in their routings and their domestic options as well too. So that's kind of a wrap up of what we've seen in 2025, but I really want to look ahead towards 2026. We're expecting a great year from you as the travel advisor. We've already seen that. We've kind of taking a step back here as well. Our January has been unbelievable. I know that a lot of you have really dedicated reservation agents like Ashley, Bianca, Judy, Suri, Eduardo, and everybody. They have been overwhelmed. So we've set request records for almost 15 consecutive days in the month of January. So yesterday was the first time we've hit a number of requests in the history of Regal Wings, and we did that for 15 consecutive days. So we're seeing a huge demand, and we really appreciate everybody's business and patience as we jump into 2026. But one of the most important developments for 26 is a significant wave of new international routes, particularly across the US and into the European market. Industry forecasts point to roughly almost 50 new international routings launching in 2026 alone, 37 of which are from the US into Europe, which is our power product. 70% of Regal Wings business is into Europe, but our strongest contracts do lie in exotic destinations like Africa, Australia, and Asia as well too. And the difference this time are where the airlines are flying to. So rather than kind of having the hub and spoke dispersion, we're seeing a lot of nonstop routings from destinations we've never seen before. Point-to-point routes and cities that have historically required one or two connections are now offering nonstop options as well. So the shift is already happening. So for example, United Airlines is launching nonstop services from Newark to destinations like Split in Croatia, Bari in Italy, Santiago de Compostela in Spain, Glasgow, Scotland. At the same time, so I live in Phoenix, Arizona, so I am a one world guy because I have to be. American is expanding deeper into Central and Eastern Europe with routes from Philly into Budapest and Prague, which really highlights our dedicated partnership as Riverside Luxury Cruises dedicated air desk, a fantastic routing from the East Coast that wasn't there before. Also adding flights from DFW into Athens, Zurich, and from Miami to Milan as well too for a great FIT option for your guests. Then on the West Coast, Delta Airlines is really strengthening their nonstop access to Europe. So I lived in Seattle before, so the race for international flights with Alaska and Delta is now exciting to see into Rome nonstop, Seattle to Barcelona nonstop, Seattle to London nonstop, allowing West Coast travelers to avoid that East Coast connection that they've had to do pretty much for the history of flying from particularly the Pacific Northwest. You're also seeing European carriers are opening new doors. British Airways is launching London Heathrow to St. Louis. Aer Lingus from adding Pittsburgh into Dublin as well. Taken together, these routes show the airlines aren't just adding flights, they're redrawing the transatlantic map and really kind of showing what's happening in the airline world and a really different dispersion of flights that we've never seen before. So why now? Why does this matter? Why are these happening? Three forces are converging. First, new aircraft technology allows airlines to fly further with fewer seats at lower costs, making thinner long-haul routes viable. Like that example from Pittsburgh to Dublin, that was never there before. We were always going through Kennedy or Boston or so on and so forth. It's really great to see those options that way. Secondly, airlines are chasing higher yield premium demand. So transatlantic routes perform exceptionally well across business class, premium economy, and high-end leisure. So that client who's going into Europe for the first time, don't start with economy. Just either say, hey, start at business, go to premium economy and say, hey, this is the best way to do this. We're really making a dedicated kind of push, and the airlines are as well, to make sure that you're arriving in the most comfortable way as possible. And third, post-COVID strategies favor flexibility now. Airlines are less dependent on funneling, so everyone through congested hubs and more focused on direct links in high demand markets. Seattle is a great example. St. Louis, really we'd consider smaller cities previously. Now we're seeing great premium experiences that they weren't having throughout the history of airfare before. So what does that mean for you as an advisor? First off, air is no longer just about logistics. It really should be strategic and a part of your strategy. The way that working with Regal Wings helps that is working with your dedicated reservation agent, really getting to know them, saying, hey, what do you think here? Here's the exact budget I have for my clients. What can you do to maximize here too? We're going to talk about some tips from our travel advisor reservation team here in a moment. But secondly, understanding aircraft types, cabin configurations and routings that allow you to position value, not just the price. Knowing seats, knowing what's been upgraded, knowing what Allegris business class is for Lufthansa, knowing about La Première from Air France. It really is a great way to expand your knowledge, just because airlines, I know, can be cumbersome and it's really challenging, and it can really be not the most exciting part of your travel adventure, but having that baseline knowledge of just plain knowledge and seats will go a long way. Third, premium economy and upgraded business class products give you more tools to meet clients where they are, especially during wave season when pricing and availability can be challenging. You don't have to deal with the hub and spoke routings as well that you had with these new routes coming on board as well. And finally, the environment rewards advisors who partner with experienced air concierge teams. This is where we make a huge difference for you, making you look like a rock star. If you really have a dedicated client, we can find whatever they want. For example, we had one guest who wanted to fly on every A380 that Emirates has in service. We actually would go through tail numbers and so on and so forth to make sure they were booked on their specific airlines as well too. But that's the quick wrap up from kind of the airline perspective, but wanted to give a quick shout out to the Regal Wings team, the tips that they're going to provide, and so on and so forth. I know that when the email came out for this webinar, we were going to bring on a reservation team member to kind of talk about tips and what they're seeing in trends. Unfortunately, they're too busy. You guys are giving us so much business that I had to actually field the questions to them and ask, what do you want me to talk about? How do you want me to position Regal Wings as a reservation team member? And what can you do as a travel advisor to maximize not your time, but also the reservation team member? So number one thing, saying having a budget. So saying they want to spend $4,000 per person rather than please show us business class, premium economy, comfort, and main at the same time. Then the reservation team can easily look at a mix of cabins. So outbound on business, return on premium, over on economy, coming back on business if they wanted to do that, and send more relevant options rather than sending an option for each cabin, knowing that the client really is reaching for that business class cabin. When if they say, hey, we only have $4,000, which is a great price, it's just realistically sometimes that just not going to be enough for business, and we can eliminate that right away to help expedite your time and also the reservation team members' time. If clients are coming off a cruise or tour, they also agents reservation, travel, you as a travel advisor will know the restrictions of, hey, if they're coming out of a cruise in Rome, and coming into when the flights can't be before 1 p.m., it kind of restricts us as well too, just because flights from Europe coming back to the US generally are in the mornings, or you're looking at a connection or double. So if they are flexible with the post-night stay, if the airfare is significantly less the morning after, that's a great way to kind of present that as well too. And then one of my favorite things that I talk about with advisors, with my background, I was a travel advisor back in the early 2010s. And my first booking that I made was an FIT booking from Salzburg into Naples. And that was completely lost, but got it done. But one thing with FIT trips, rather than booking it yourself, rather than putting the trip together, then adding the air, do it the other way around. The reason I say that is, let's take a trip from like Rome, Venice, Milan. Typical FIT in Italy, they're there for 2 weeks. First off, if the client is flexible on dates, if we pivot that trip 2 weeks before, 2 weeks after, or we also say, hey, if you flip Rome to Milan and go the other direction and save them thousands of dollars, where they can repurpose the budget into their FIT trip, you look like a rock star that way too. And then also be aware of world events, Olympics, European Championships for soccer. I'm going to be at Astor River Cruise Expo, and we're doing a pre-stay. We didn't know it was Paris Fashion Week, so hotels were insane. Trying to find reservations for anywhere has been a little challenging, but it'll let us show off our most chic clothing, as we can say there. So those are kind of the tips overall that we're seeing from our reservation team members. If you do have further questions, guys, feel free to reach out. But in kind of summation of what we offer here at Regal Wings, it's all about service. We are a great right hand for you to extend to your clients and make airfare as easy as possible. You send a request to us, we do the research for you, we get back to you, you present it to your guests. There's commission in every single one of our bookings. There's 24/7, 365 emergency services. You can email us, call us, or WhatsApp us as well from your client's perspective. If anything goes wrong, your client calls us. They don't call you. Make sure you educate them saying, I'm working with Regal Wings as an air concierge company. They're the ones to reach out to if you do have any questions, if anything's going wrong. Also, if they have Wi-Fi on a plane anywhere, email emergency@regalwings.com. WhatsApp us as well saying, hey, we're going to misconnect on our flight into Barcelona, going to Budapest. Can you please store seats in my record locator? I've used this personally 3 separate times. I was going to get stuck in Orlando last week with the ice storm that came through. Thankfully, I was able to be repurposed and getting home via Chicago, which is ironic, going into Chicago as a winter area that way too. But I also wanted to show our new price comparison. So every year we come out with a price comparison showing what Regal Wings offers in the net fares and so on and so forth, and where quote unquote our strongest contracts are. Air New Zealand is generally one of our best partners. They always have kind of come to the table with great nets. So this kind of shows our buying power with Regal Wings here to start. Competitor A is a website that focuses much more on volume, and then booking directly with the customer, with the airline on the right-hand side as well here. So our net fare on this route into Auckland and out of Sydney, assuming for a cruise, is around $7,000. The published fare is $7,800. Let's just round that up to make it easy. So your markup potential in this flight is $800 of commission. One thing we generally recommend is about a 60-40 split for you and your guests. So we say, hey, mark this up to about $7,600. Your clients are going to be saving about $300 to saving about $200 and so on and so forth. And you're earning a great ROI on this, and you look like a rock star that way too. The big thing with this as well, dedicated reservation team, and really a dedicated service for you at Regal Wings here as well. So the one thing with us too, now it's your chance to kick off a successful 2026. Feel free to register with Regal Wings today. We'll be following up with really detailed information here. But I do want to remind everybody, my name is Chaz Dunwoody. I'm our Director of Sales. Feel free to reach out to me with anything. I've been in your shoes before. I know how these things work. We do have a webinar for every month of this season. Every month of this year. I mentioned before, we have an exclusive air partnership with Riverside Luxury Cruises. So we are having Jen Halbeth, their CEO, join us on February 24th at 2 p.m. Eastern for our next Takeoff Series webinar. Secondly, Kelly Brown and I from Riverside will be in Texas in the middle of this month. We'll be hosting events in Houston and Austin. So invites will be sent out next week. And that's your runway for wave success. Thanks for taking off with us today. We'll see you in the skies soon. And on a personal quip, go Hawks. We're going to reconvene after the Super Bowl victory in 2 weeks. And Amanda, do we have any questions?
Yeah, we had a question from Dina, which is talking about when she submits requests. Where is the best place to submit a request? Either the main email address or to the agents that she's worked with in the past, because she has brought up she's gotten different pricing at times. So what's the most efficient way?
Yeah, absolutely. So Gina, if you have an established relationship with a dedicated reservation agent that you like working with, we recommend kind of going along those routes. If you're seeing that you're getting different quotes and so on and so forth, please feel free to reach out to me, just because we want to make sure that that is congruent, and you shouldn't be having any pricing differentiation that way. We do recommend first-time Regal Wings members send requests in through the Regal Wings white label page where we're doing the research for you. You hear back from us, and then you get assigned a reservation team about 3 bookings into the process as well.
And then there's 2 more questions. Another one from Dina. Do you have flights that will not show up on the airline site directly? I like to look at published fares so I can see if the markup is possible and to share with the client. I got a quote yesterday, but could not see the same itinerary on SAS. So I was curious.
Yeah, it depends. The one thing that really is advantageous with Regal Wings is sometimes that does happen, where if we have a net fare contract where we have a certain amount of seats on a routing, sometimes that won't show on the public site because it's showing as sold out or not available. Sometimes that does happen. With that being said, it really depends where we're going, the airline, and so on and so forth that way as well.
And question from Kelly that I can actually answer. She's a newer agent with outside agents and wondering if we have any training available on your website. So there's 2 ways to go about this. You can speak to Chaz directly and we can walk through a training. And we are also, hopefully in the next 2 months or so, should have an internal training on our website. That would be kind of self-service, some quick videos, some Q&As, some FAQ, and you can kind of walk through the training on Regal Wings as well. But you're always welcome to reach out to Chaz and the team, and we can do one-on-one training sessions.
Absolutely. And Amanda, on top of that, we do have some recorded trainings on YouTube, which we can follow up with as well. But I'm really happy to get the team or me to set up any trainings for you guys that way. Some kind of quick insiders as well. We are in the process of testing out some tech options. So you may see that coming down the line. If you guys do have any requests for us or anything you want to see added to our portfolio, we'd be happy to look into that. I know one thing I'm personally trying to investigate is airline VIP services such as fast track and transfers and so on and so forth. We've got a really exciting year coming here at Regal Wings, guys, and we wouldn't be here without your support. But if you do have any requests or things you want to see from us, feel free to reach out. This is a very small company where we can make kind of really good, really, we can really make adjustments when it really benefits both you and us at the same time.
Just a few more questions as well. So Mary's clients changed their flights directly with American Airlines due to the weather impacts. Yes, if the flight was booked through Regal Wings, they can still use our emergency assistance with Regal at no extra cost.
100%. Yeah.
And then
Go
here
ahead,
for you,
Amanda.
Chaz, from Cindy, what's the average turnaround for a quote once the pricing is approved? How long does it typically take for ticketing?
Sure. So if you receive a quote from us and saying, hey, I would like to book, we would send you a secure booking link where you enter your information, your client's information, including passport number, TSA pre-check, global entry, and frequent flyer number, because your guests will earn all of their points, their spend, their mileage when they book with us. But after you receive that link, once the payment link is sent in, the ticketing gets done within the calendar day too. So you should receive all that information from us once payment is submitted through the booking link as well.
And the first point of that question was, what's the average turnaround for a quote?
So it's tough. So right now, as I mentioned, guys, we're really overwhelmed with not overwhelmed. We're dealing with a influx of requests we've never have. So right now we're saying about 1 to 2 hours. And on average, but outside of this January season, I like to say it's 45 minutes to an hour and a half is your turnaround time.
Yeah. And as Chaz touched on earlier, we're also doubling the reservation team as well. So they're in training right now until they can, start working with clients. And then Kelly, I believe Chaz just touched on, yes, you get the same flight benefits with mileage accrual, et cetera. Especially if you have status that goes into the booking as well.
Right. And one thing I want to touch on that too. So when I fly with Regal Wings, so I fly premium economy, just because I want to see what I can do to upgrade directly with the airline. So for example, going into River Cruise Expo, we're flying into Paris and out of Amsterdam. So we're booked on premium economy right now. And last year when we flew in, we were waiting for the upgrade offer to come from the airline directly. So our routing was a little it was kind of all over the place, where we went from Phoenix to LA to Heathrow and then to Munich. The reason we did that was the flight from LA into Heathrow is on a 777W. So there's about 60 business class cabins. So the one-way business class upgrade offer we got was $600. So you can do those things and say, hey, I want to look at a big business class cabin that has a premium economy option. Just because if your clients are cost conscious and they're looking to kind of upgrade with the airline directly, they can do that with mileage and dollars directly with the airline. Unfortunately, we do not accept miles as a form of payment.
Correct. And then just a few more. Cruise fares. We don't offer those. Correct. I know we are working to offer them. So that's
correct. So cruise nets, we are currently on the process of trying to acquire. We do not have them yet, hoping to change that relatively quickly.
Here we go. Here's another question from Veronica. In the last year, I've received several quotes from Regal, and in most of the quotes, they price the same as public price, but the flights do not have commission for the advisor. Any advice on how to find flights that do have commission?
Yeah, absolutely. So Veronica, one thing with that being said, when it comes to certain routings, we don't have a contract. So, or we don't have a lesser cost just because of the demand from the airline. Let's say you want to go from Atlanta to Heathrow. Sometimes Delta blacks out that routing from us. So we do our best to offer some commissions on there. When you submit a quote to us and then you get a fare back where there's none on it, just respond back saying, hey, I need to earn commission on this. Can you please look up another routing? And we're happy to do that for you.
From Stephen, any plans to extend quote availability into weekends?
Short answer, yes. Execution, we don't know. As we mentioned before, we're doubling the size of the res team, where that's going to open up different times, different shifts, so on and so forth. We want to make sure we're securing our standard business model first before expanding. But we're hoping to see something of that nature in the calendar year.
Awesome. One more from Dina. Can agency credit cards be used for client flights?
Yes, they can.
And then from Aaron, does Regal Wings ever reach out to the client directly without notice? I've heard of confusion in the past from clients saying someone called them and they didn't understand they were working with the travel advisor.
No, unless you are specifically saying reach out to our guests, we always route through you as the travel advisor. The only time we encourage a direct contact with with a client is if it's an emergency situation, just because they call our main line. They say, then on the prompt it says this is an emergency, hit number 2, then it goes to our emergency team, knowing that it's a client directly, where we kind of have to get some action on whatever happenings to their ticket.
Awesome. Two final questions. Can you please explain how to mark up a flight? So if we can go back to the example.
Yep, hold on. All right, so looking at this, so our net fare is $7,000, and then the published fare is $7,767. So let's just call that $7,800. When you receive a net fare quote from us, the net fare will be shown and the published fare will be shown. Then it'll say, what would you like to mark it up as? So these contracts are unfortunately fewer and far between than they used to be. But when you receive this, it'll say net fare and published fare. You then have the ability to mark up all the way to the published fare if you'd like. Generally, we always recommend giving some of the savings to the client, but it really depends what you'd like to do. So there's always going to be a certain amount of money you can mark up to. You cannot go over the published price. One thing I haven't mentioned is if you guys do want to add a service charge, you can add that up to 4% of the gross fare. The one thing with that, it will come through as a separate charge. So they'll have their standard airfare quote cost, and then if you want to add the service fee is a separate charge.
Two final questions from Cindy. Are business flights from US to Caribbean and US to Hawaii, to Hawaii commissionable?
So unfortunately, we do not offer airfare within North America. Kind of the quick explanation for that is, unless if it's a narrow body plane like a 737, A320, A321 with a limited business class cabin of 20 seats, the airline doesn't need help selling that. So the reason that we exist in the international space is the airline wants to sell as many seats as possible to raise the rate to the public. So they're making more money off of each seat that Regal Wings sells because the published price goes up. With that being said, on a flight from New York into Barbados, when it's a 4.5-hour flight on a 737, that's going to sell out regardless of having an airfare partner. So we don't have contracts for those routes just because of that. We're hoping that may change in the near future, but that's kind of how our business model works.
And final question as of right now, can you do gross pricing and process commissions through our host agency instead of processing net?
Yes, we can. Send me an email on that. It depends how we have it set up with a host agency, but we definitely are flexible in terms of how payments are received.
Wonderful. Any final questions? And feel free to reach out to Chaz or myself directly after this if you have any questions. We will be sending this recording as well as notes out. And then if Chaz wants to do the gift card recipient.
Yeah, absolutely. So Amanda, you have to confirm if they are on the meeting, but we did a random draw beforehand. So I hope, is Lori Samples here?
No, Lori is not. So the other random one is the one I sent you.
Oh, send it on. Okay. Dina Gaynor. Dina, thank you so much for joining. We'll send you your $100 gift card here over this week.
Wonderful.
And everybody, thank you so much for joining us here this morning. Again, my name's Chaz Dunwoody. Amanda, thank you so much for your help today. We'll be following up with you guys, but we wouldn't be here without you. Thanks so much for your support. Have a nice day.